Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to work on how to simplify exponents. So first we have to remind ourselves what an exponent is. Here we have x to the fourth power, and your x, or your large standard size number, is known as the base, and your power, the little tiny number in the upper right-hand corner, is known as your power or your exponent. Now, this power, this exponent, has a very specific job to do. That tells you the number of times that you multiply the base by itself. A big mistake is having this answer be 4x. It is not. This is not a way to say multiplication. What we do is we take that base and we multiply by itself 4 times. So the only thing you're actually going to write down is the base itself. So x to the fourth power is equal to x times x times x times x. Now, when we take an exponent and we write it in this form where we break down exactly the number of x's we're multiplying, this is called expanded form. So if I had something like 2y to the third power, its expanded form would be 2 times y times y times y. Let's go ahead and look at some problems that we'll be running into. Our first problem is 25x to the third y to the eighth divided by 5xy squared. So our very first step to deal with this is we're going to look at the numbers only. We're going to ignore all the variables, and we are going to multiply, divide, or reduce the numbers normally if they're a fraction. So as you can see, I have 25 divided by 5 here. 25 divided by 5 is simply 5. So I'm now done with the numbers. I know my answer for the numbers is 5. And now we're going to move on to step 2. Step 2 is to expand both the numerator and the denominator. So I still have my 5 there. And as you can see, I have x to the third power, which is x times x times x. And then I have 8 y's. So I'm going to add that in the numerator, y times 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 y. Now we're ready to expand out and write an expanded form our denominator. We have a single x times y, because we have 2 y's. So now that we have it all in expanded form, we're going to go ahead and play battle. Now, what we do for battle is we take one thing on the numerator and the exact thing on the denominator, and we cross them out. They battle, and then they have the same exact strength, so one numerator takes out one denominator. However, they can only fight those letters that are exactly the same as themselves. So we're going to cross out a pair of the same letters, one in the numerator, one in the denominator, until there isn't any left in one of the two spots. So I see an x in both my numerator and denominator, so I'm going to cross out an x up top and an x down below. There's no more x's, so I'm going to move on to my y battles. I cross out a y up top, a y on the bottom. Remember, y divided by y is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. When we have the same number, it's the same as 1, which is how we're able to simplify it. We have one more y left on the bottom, and we're going to go ahead and cross that out on the top. Remember, 1 on top and 1 on the bottom is required. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and finish up, and we're going to rewrite what's left in our equation in exponent form. So up top, I have a 5 times x, which is going to be 5x squared. And I count my number of y's. I have 6 y's left, so that's going to be y to the 6th power. So 5x squared, y to the 6th. And then we have our fraction bar. Now notice that there's nothing left in the denominator. Now if something goes away completely in either the numerator or the denominator, what's left is 1. So we always need to make sure if we slice everything out, we put that 1 back in as a placeholder. Now, of course, it doesn't matter when it's the denominator because anything divided by 1 is that same number itself. 3 divided by 1 is 3. So our final answer here, once we simplified, is 5x squared y to the 6th. So 25x cubed y to the 8th divided by 5xy squared is equal to 5x squared y to the 6th. Here's our example 2. Here we have 3 times the quantity 5x to the 4th. Now when we see that 4th power on the outside, that 4th is going to apply to both the 5 and the x because we are putting it on each term on top. So when we expand this out, we have our 3 times, and then we have 5x, which is our base, and we're multiplying our base by itself 4 times. So that's 5x times 5x times 5x times 5x. Now we're simply going to Start with step 1, multiply those numbers normally. So we have 3 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, which is 1,875. And then we look at those x's, and there's 4 of them, so that is x to the 4th power. So for this simplified fraction, 3 times the quantity, 5x to the 4th power, is 1,875x to the 4th. We're going to continue to work and do lots of these problems on Desmos activity today.